so there's a lot of fans out there. You know, you guys been out, it's been like 25 years. So some of these fans, they might not even, you know, they not old enough to really remember the beefs and everything, and they're just more fans of 50 and all that. You know, what's your thoughts on that?
You know, they may be familiar with 50 for his work now with Power and BMF and things like that, so they're not familiar with the rap beef and how things going. People are not familiar with me being arrested for the situation with 50. You know what I mean? Back then, we didn't have the internet. And even with the internet, people don't care about paperwork that he told and had me, Irv, and Chris Gotti arrested.
I was going to get into
Yeah.
that, though, for sure.
You know what I mean? People don't care about that. You look at some of these guys right now, they what you call social media influencers. Some of these snitches right now, you know what I mean? That doesn't matter. They don't care. People see paperwork. It's about, oh, yo, they getting money or they got money. So long as they getting money and they got money, people are they'll forget the wrongs that people do. That's how some of these people are able to get away with some of the crimes that they doing, or you know what I mean, for so long. People like Epstein, you know what I mean, and shit like that. It's because he got money. So for years he was able to do certain things, and people would give him a pass because he had money. You know what I mean? They'll overlook it. It's the same scenario. You know what I mean? It's like it's no morals.
Well, let's take it back a little bit. You know, then we got through some of the current stuff. I just want to, you know, for the fans, the new fans who might not know who you are, you know, let's take it back a little bit, man. Can you tell them a little bit, you know, where you grew up at and what it's like for you growing up?
Black child, from Hollis, Queens, born in Brooklyn, raised in Hollis, Queens, the north side of Queens. You know what I mean? I came up, my first record deal was with Jam Master Jay. A lot of people don't know that. 50 was signed to Jay after, you know what I mean? My deal didn't really fully materialize because I got incarcerated, and then he signed 50. But I'm from Queens, born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens on the north side. Ended up getting home, coming home, signing the Gotti, signing with Murder Inc. Been with Murder Inc. from day one, since it was Cash Money Click, when Irv was working at Blunt Records with doing Mike Geronimo deal with TVT. And then, you know, he ended up getting his own label. He put out Ja, DMX. He was responsible for bringing DMX to Def Jam, if they don't know. Irv Gotti, then, you know, he definitely worked hand in hand early with Jay-Z career as far as just navigating his relationship with Def Jam and Rockefeller, being in all three of them just being in the office at the same time. Then he started Murder Inc. I was one of his artists, me, Josh, Shanti, shout out to Vita, Charlie Baltimore, and you know, we got the whole Inc. family. We did our thing for a few years, you know what I mean? We ran the music industry, and you know, a lot of things started happening. It was a thin line between the streets and the music. Things got blurred, and you know, we was one of the first labels that was under attack. Now I see, like, you see a lot of rappers and a lot of entertainers, mainly rappers, because you don't see, you know, comedians or, you know, rock and roll artists getting indicted for their drug use or their fights. They might have had a fight 3 times in the same city with a rival, with a rival, and you know, they're not going to be indicted or charged with RICO or gang activity. But with, you know,
well, let's take it back a little bit. So how did you start rapping, and how did you meet Ja? Because you guys were childhood friends, right?
Yeah, I started rapping young. I started rapping real young, back like when Slick Rick was hot. Me and Ja from the same community, Hollis, Queens, on the north side. So naturally we met each other, and we just always used to kick it. I used to go to his crib and we used to write. This when the box was out. Gotti used to bring us around, because at the time Rough Riders was forming. You know what I mean? Rockefeller, Jay-Z was the only artist at Rockefeller at the time. Bleak was around too. Shout out to Bleak. Bleak was around. You know what I mean? And yeah, and we just started writing and doing music together. Irv had us doing music together early 1994, 93, 95, around then.
Now, I think I seen you were in the studio when Jay recorded Can I Live?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. That's around the time when I was like shadowing Irv, and Irv used to have us in the studio, and he produced Can I Live. I was with him that day. I think they recorded that at D&D studio in Manhattan. You know what I mean? Irv was inspired that from the Dead Presidents movie. It was a scene in Dead Presidents, and you know what I mean. That beat was playing. I think Irv came home from the movie and was like, "That shit crazy," and looped it up, gave it to Hove, and the rest was history. But I was there when Hove recorded that. You know what I mean? I go way back with, like I said, I go back with Irv from when the beginning of Rockefeller, Rough Riders, and Murder Inc. and all of that was starting. It was already formed, but it was formulating as a business, and just there was about to transition into the Rough Rider deal with Interscope and Rockefeller with Def Jam and so forth. So
What was the thoughts on the Tupac beef at the time when he was dissing Biggie and he was going at Jay and everything?
at the time, like right when I think we ain't hear him go at Jay until after he died. I think he passed, and then I think Machiavelli came out. But I was a Tupac fan. You know what I mean? I was a Biggie fan. So at the time, and I was young at that time, so it just my head up like, damn, Biggie dead, Pac dead, they got killed. So we wasn't really like, it wasn't looked at beef like that. Like I was too young to absorb it and wasn't a part of the industry or either sides for me to take a side. You know what I mean? So, we just looked at it like, damn, Pac is off the chain when he came with Hit It Up. We hit him up. We like, yo, this nigga Pac going crazy. You know what I mean? And for me as a fan, I would have liked to see Biggie go back at Pac, but then it goes to show big integrity. That's why I said some of these artists don't got integrity and ain't dealing with being honorable. Big, that was really, he looked at Pac really as his friend, so he didn't even want to feed into that and retaliate and let the public feed him on, because that's what we got to stop doing, is tearing each other down. That's really what I'm up here for, really, to clear it up and just like, yo, we got to stop tearing each other down.
What about DMX? How did you meet DMX?
I met DMX. The first time I met DMX, he knocked it out. We was going to the studio. I think to do Can I Build at 47th Street. I forgot what studio that is off of 47th. It wasn't Quad. It was around the corner from Quad. Might have been Unique or one of them. And we walking, and this nigga come up trying to sell a watch. Like, yo, look, I got a watch to sell. The DMX looked at it and said, that's my watch. Bang, knocked it out. Boom, took the watch, right? And we all slid up in the studio. Now we in the studio like 10, 15 minutes later, we hear, oh shit, yo, police coming up in the studio. So police is about to run up in the studio, but I guess whoever had to buzz them in from downstairs gave us a head up. X went and hid. I went in another studio in the closet. I went and hid, you know what I mean? And they came up, Job was like, that I ain't how they ended up taking Job to the precinct and shit, because the guy really couldn't speak English that good, and he was saying that Job was there, but I guess when they got to the precinct, he cleared it up and was like, no, he wasn't the one that robbed me. It was another guy, but he was there. You know what I mean? They ended up letting Job go from the precinct and shit. I don't even know if we got the session done that night. Matter of fact, yeah, we ended up doing, I think, maybe Time to Build, one of them joints from Mike Geronimo album back there, one of them joints. And if you Google it online from 94, 95, like Jay-Z, DMX, and Ja Rule, it's on there. But yeah.
So DMX was wild.
Yeah, DMX was wild. That was my first day meeting X. He knocked the nigga out, robbed him, and took his watch. And then, we used to go pick him up. Irv had a burgundy MPV back then when the MPV vans first came out. So we used to go to Yonkers and pick him up, and Irv would bring him to the studio. You know what I mean? X was always cool. Me and him always had a good vibe. You know what I mean? I think the street in him just was like that. He was that used to take a nigga shit. If it was weak, he'd take your shit, and if he was on his bullshit. You know what I mean? Everybody he rapped about, you know what I mean, taking shit. Niggas knew that was X. He was a strong. And if you was weak around him and you had something when he was going on, when he was in his zone, X probably would take your shit. You know what I mean? You had to be strong to live back then. You couldn't be weak and have a lot of things, and not, unless you had, you was paying off or something to hold you down. But other than that, it was only the strong survived back in that era.
What's up? This is Cam Capone. We got more content like this coming soon, so hit that like button, subscribe, and stay locked in to Cam Capone News.